Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sneha and today I'm creating this makeup look because a lot of you guys asked me through email or through Instagram messages that you hope that I had filmed a makeup tutorial for the makeup I had in my last video, which is review for the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. So unfortunately I had not, so here I am recreating that makeup. So I hope this is helpful to those of you who had asked for it. So I've put on the same shirt and I have the same earring. My hair is flatter because it's gotten more oilier. Also, I'd straightened my hair that day, but since then, because I've washed my face so many times, the hair around the periphery of my face does get water, so therefore it's gone back to its curly state. So I have like a half curly, half straight hair situation going on. So please ignore that. But let's get started with the tutorial. So on my oily T-zone, which is my nose, the forehead, and my chin and right here, I've used the La Roche-Posay Effect Clair K Plus Moisturizer. Sorry it's so bright in here and you can't see it, but I'll list everything in the description box below for you guys. And then on the rest of my face, I've used this rich moisturizer, which is the Ombre Lease Lait Cream Concentrate. And as you can see, it's pretty well loved. I barely have some remaining in here, but this is what I've used on the rest of my face. So for primer, I'm first going in with this Cover FX primer. It's their mattifying primer with anti-acne treatment. So I'd used this a couple of times since I bought it, and I think I like it. It did keep my skin looking matte longer, but I wasn't sure it's because it's winter right now and I was walking outside, but my nose was still looking matte, or if it was actually effective. So I'm applying this primer mostly to my oily areas. Then I'm going in with Professional to go over this area where I have smile lines and also around my mouth where I do have foundation settling in usually. So I'm going to take some. And I want to pat it into the skin instead of rubbing. So what this basically does is it kind of seals in those fine lines. And because those lines are filled in with this product, the colorless one, your foundation and your concealer does not go in there. Or at least it doesn't go in as much. Next, I'm moving on to color correction and I'm going to use my MAC concealer palette. This is the one in medium deep. I'm using it with the Real Techniques Detailer brush, which looks like a lip brush. I think I'm going to start with the NW40 shade today. Whoops! Whoops! So as I was saying, I'm going to start with the NW40 shade first. I'm just applying it to areas that have discoloration. So as you can see, this corner now is so much better than this corner. I will be doing an in-depth video on color correction soon in 2018, so if you'd like to watch that, be on the lookout. Next, I'm just going to set that quickly in place with the Laura Mercier translucent powder, making sure everything is blended and not creasing. Then for color correcting under my eyes, I'm using the same palette and the same shades. So I'm first just going in with the NW40. Now I'm not going to drag this corrector all the way under my eye because I don't need it, frankly. So just going to apply it where I have darkness. For foundation, I'm going in with my Kat Von D Lock-It foundation and I'm in the shade 57 medium warm. So I'm going to take about half a pump. Because this foundation is full coverage, you don't need as much. And I'm going to dot it all over my face and blend it in with a damp beauty blender sponge. I'm going to start on my cheek because that is my problem area. And with this foundation, I would recommend doing one area at a time because it does tend to dry out quite quickly. or what I mean is it does set on the face quite quickly. Sorry guys, my mom had just called me to talk, so that's why I had to turn the audio off. But I'm just basically still working on that half pump. I did a very thin layer all over my face, and now I'm just going to apply whatever's left over on my hand to the areas where I need a little bit more coverage, so around here. And I generally like to do my foundation before I do my eye makeup in most cases, just because my skin has so much discoloration and scarring. I like to blank out the canvas to see how the makeup is going to look against it. So that's my reasoning for doing it this way. So I used up that half pump, and that's enough for medium coverage, I would say, with this foundation anyway. Next, I'm moving on to concealing my under eyes. So I'm first going in with this Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer, and this is the shade Y41. It's a little dark for me, but I do like to use that. And then to further brighten and highlight under my eyes, I'm going in with a small amount of the Maybelline Eraser Eye, and this is the shade Nude. So I just like to put both the concealers on the back of my hand and then go in with a brush to apply it to the under eye area. So this is how different the two shades look. You can see that the Makeup Forever one is so much darker than the Maybelline one. And I'm going to apply that with my Real Techniques Dome Shadow Brush. So I'm first going in with the Makeup Forever one. So as you can see, that's a very natural concealer shade for me. It doesn't brighten up the under eye. So that's why I go in with a little bit of the Maybelline one. And then just quickly setting it with the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Should have probably taken a larger brush. Okay. So just going to repeat the same steps on the other eye. And whatever's left over, I'm just going to run it right here, then some here. Next, I'm just going to quickly go ahead and fill in my brows off camera with some brow powder, and I'll be right back. Next, we're moving on to the eye makeup. And as you've seen in so many of my tutorials, I'm going to prime my eyes with this NARS eye primer, almost at the end of this tube. And just blending it out with my ring finger. Then I'm just going to set this eye primer, especially in that crease area, just so the eyeshadows that I'm going to apply right on top blend easily. I'm surprised I can actually talk while I apply my makeup. Usually I suck at multitasking. I just like to focus on one thing. Now for eyeshadows, you're probably going to hate me for this, but I use 3 different eyeshadow palettes and most of them are kind of high-end and expensive. But feel free to switch it up with any eyeshadows that you may have that look similar. I don't have any exact dupes for these eyeshadows and I apologize for that, but this is what I did that day and so many of you guys asked for it, so that's the reason I'm recreating this. So I first used the Natasha Denona Sunset palette and I went in with these 2 eyeshadows in my crease. So I'm first taking this shade in my crease, which is called Atmosphere. And I'm going to use my Wayne Gauze brush number 18 for that, which is similar to the MAC 217 or the Sigma E25. So going in with that first shade. It's like a lighter version of my top. So this is going to be my transition shade, so I am going to take it relatively high like so. So it's like a soft wash of that color. Next, I'm taking this rusty orange shade called Sinai. I'm using the same brush with it, but I'm going to focus it more into the crease. So I'm not taking it as high as that first shade. Then I'm taking my Morphe M421 brush, which is this flat tiny brush, and I'm going into the Naked Heat palette and using this peachy gold shade called Lumber. So I'm going to apply this to the 3/4 of my lid, leaving the outer corner kind of blank for a different eyeshadow. Next, I went into this Sultry Muse palette by Viseart, and I used this shade on the outer V, just using that same brush we'd used in the crease. I think I'm just going to turn down the brightness a little bit because I think the eyeshadows are looking lighter than what I can see here in person, so I'll be right back. There you have it. I think this looks more realistic. So just applying that to the outer V, blending it with the shade we have on the lid right here, and then also taking whatever's left over on the brush into the crease. So once you have that, you want to move on to a smaller brush for the lower lash line. So I'm taking one of these pencil brushes. This is by Zoeva, and the shade, not the shade, but the brush number is 230, the Luxe pencil brush. So I'm taking that same burgundy shade, this one, going to apply that. You can see how much deeper the palette looks now. So I'm taking that on the outer half of my lower lash line and connecting it to the top lid. So like that. Then just wiping the brush on a paper towel, and then I'm going in with the shade from the same palette, this light pink. I'm going to apply that to the inner half of the lower lash line. It should look something like this. And then finally I'm taking this light white shimmery shade. I'm going to apply that as my tear duct or inner corner highlighter. Taking whatever's left over on the brush and blending it with those orange tones in the inner portion of the crease, so right here. And that just helps open up the eye a little bit. Now finally for the eyes, as an eyeliner, I didn't put anything on my top waterline, but I did use this NYX Glide On pencil, and it's the shade SL13 or Jewel. And this is what I'm going to run on my bottom waterline. It looks like this muted purple shade. It's like a glittery pencil. It doesn't show up much on the eyes. And finally for the eyes, I just went in with lashings of this Marc Jacobs mascara, which I've been loving at the moment. So I'm just going to apply this to my top and bottom eyelashes. So I'm just going to let this dry and then clean up any of the smudges of the mascara that I have on my skin, and I'll be right back. Next, I'm going to go ahead and conceal all my acne scarring with my Kevyn Aucoin Essential Skin Enhancer, and I'm going to have a detailed tutorial for this coming up next week. So if you'd like to watch that, please come back next week and that video should be live. But I'm just going to cover it off camera and I'll be right back because otherwise we're going to be here forever. So concealer is on, and next I'm moving on to contouring my face, and for that I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand. So if you saw my review video on this is the second time I'm using it, so we'll see if there's still more product remaining on the sponge and if it has dried out or not. So I think I'm going to experiment with my forehead. Okay, so it didn't dry out, there is more product in the sponge. You see how fast that blended out. Okay, now I'm running low on the product. Okay, there's nothing more coming out. Just going to blend what I have here first. Yeah. start with that. Okay, then going to apply it on my jawline. I will be going over this with the powder in a bit, so I'm not going to apply too much of this. Now moving to a smaller brush for contouring my nose and my cupid's bow. Next, I'm going to set my entire face with the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush powder, and for that I'm using my Wayne Goss brush number 2. Then I'm just going into the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder in the shade medium and using that to deepen up the contours. And you guys know the drill, I'm going in with MAC Shadowy for my jawline. For highlighter, I'm using this cream product by Marc Jacobs. It's their glow stick. Just using that with my fingers. Just applying that to the top of my cheeks like so. Applying some just above the eyebrows. Some down the bridge of my nose, some on my cupid's bow, for blush I'm going to mix these two shades. This is Peaches by MAC and this is Fluo Power by MAC. So I'm just going to dip my blush brush into both, and for that I'm using the Wayne Goss airbrush. Yeah, that's why it doesn't have a number. For my lips, I did first go in with the Sephora lip pencil and the shade is Cherry or Cheery Chestnut. Looks like this. So you could keep it looking like this as well. But then I went in with my very loved, I just have this tiny stub remaining. This is the NARS Velvet Matte Lip Pencil, I believe, and this is the shade Dolce Vita. It's a lovely peachy shade. Quite wearable for tan skin tone. You could stop here as well, but then just to lighten up the center of the lips, I went in with the ColourPop Blotted Lip, and this is the shade Candy Floss. And then lastly, just set your entire face with any setting spray that you may have. I'm using this by Skindinavia. And this, you guys, is the finished look. So I hope you guys like this tutorial, and if you found this useful, please don't forget to hit that like button and also consider subscribing for more videos. By the way, all the products used will be listed in the description box below if you want to check them out. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me.